first to acknowledge our sponsors, Wyndham Ratchford. If you need any video help, I've used Wyndham for my law firm promotion a little bit. Wyndham is great, so I recommend Wyndham. He's been working with us for some years. We have Westfield Bank as a sponsor, but they've been acquired, and I don't see any representatives of the acquirer here. But I'll still do a shout out to Westfield Bank. You're not with the acquirer of Westfield Bank?
Oh, no.
No. Okay. All right. Well, we patronize Westfield Bank for their success. And Fast Forward Business Advisors, my son Bradley is here. So if you're interested in buying or selling a business, see Bradley. And then Hawkins Law Firm is a sponsor, and we do primarily mergers and acquisitions, legal work on mergers and acquisitions, and commercial litigation. So, and if anyone would like to be a sponsor, by all means let me know, because we'll be looking for sponsors for next year. And let me now introduce Tom Furnas, who's our moderator for this morning. He's with Growth Strategies Group, and Tom has, it was his idea to have a program on scaling your business. And Tom took the initiative to rope in the panelists. We'll see how he did here shortly. And with that, with no further ado, let me turn this over to Tom.
Good morning. Thank you everyone for coming. I know some of us are suffering from the loss last night. If anyone has any questions, in my household, it's my fault. I failed to wear my Cavs socks last night, and I had worn them every other game that we won. So it's my fault. Thank you. That's the way it goes. So anyway, the Center for Free Enterprise seeks to bring together Ohio business leaders and interested middle market mergers and acquisitions, professionals, new venture formation and growth, and other business issues that present challenges and opportunities to us as individuals and to the region as a whole. Today's conversation is focused on 4 essential drivers of sustainable growth: people, capital, customers, and an operating model. Many businesses can grow for a period of time through founder energy, hustle, relationships, and instinct. But scaling is different. Scaling requires structure, repeatability, financial discipline, market clarity, and the right people in the right roles. And we're fortunate today to have a panel of experienced leaders who each bring a different lens on this topic: talent, human capital, commercial banking, financial resources, marketing, customer strategy, and business operating system. So today's goal is practical. We want business owners and advisors to walk away with a clearer understanding of what's involved in really making it happen and helping grow businesses. So our panelists are Jim Bars, Molly Berardinelli, Jonathan Ebenstein, and Jim Haviland. And we'll actually give each of you an opportunity to introduce yourself and the business you're in and your expertise. So,
thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Molly Berardinelli. There will be a test afterwards on how to spell my last name. No peeking. I am a commercial lender with 16 years of experience. Prior to that, I am a family of a small business entrepreneur in the manufacturing world in Cleveland, so I have a genuine love for what the greater Northeast Ohio market can do for us. First National Bank is about 160 years old. We're in 7 states. We're over $50 billion in assets. I handle the commercial lending space of $1.5 million and above. Anything below that, I have a great team behind me. We are a all-inclusive type of bank that loves to work with entrepreneurs. So questions, anything that I can do to add value, that's what I'm here for. I am also a West Sider now. And I have 2 kids, a 4 and a 5-year-old, and we're just gearing up for the summer. So thank you everyone for being here.
Good morning, I'm Jim Bears. I know some of you. I'm a former Arthur Anderson audit and tax guy from 40 years ago. Yes, it's an old name, but it was a great name back in the day. I worked in manufacturing and financial and strategic planning and operational solutions before I joined Robert Half 38 years ago. For those that don't know, Robert Half is a world-leading specialty staffing firm, 78 years in business, New York Stock Exchange Global with over 300 offices, 7 divisional lines, a retained search practice, and a Big Four style solution birthed out of my alma mater, Arthur Andersen, in '02 when the firm broke up. We took the internal audit practice there with 600 people and 28 offices and created over $1 billion practice, doing things like AI, hardening cyber, business process optimization, ERP, and the such. We now have millions of talent options. That's actually not hyperbole. We actually do have millions. So now we can pinpoint for clients with remote search on industry, software, functional skill, price point, and speed, unlike any other firm in the world. Nobody has a blended practice with staffing, placement, and Big Four style under one banner. And to say one last thing, we have a retained search practice that's award-winning by Forbes. We compare to Korn Ferry every year, 1 or 2 against them. They like doing the 800,000, Fortune 1000 roles with the 400,000 bonus and equities. We'll do any retained search 150K and up. We will fill it. It'll be a 98% success rate compared to an industry average of 68, so you never thought of us for that. But it doesn't matter for us. We're agnostic on industries and functions, but on any of these things in human capital, we'd always be glad to talk with you. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jonathan Ebenstein. I'm the president and founder of Strategic 7 Marketing. And I grew up professionally on the ad agency side and then got recruited to go and work at Skoda Minotti, which was a CPA, largely CPA firm at the time. Did some other additional business advisory offerings as well. It was kind of going to the dark side, go from an agency to the client side. But the timing was right, and the offer that I countered with seemed to be offering a lot of advisory services. So could we make marketing one of the advisory services that the firm offers? Greg Skoda, very entrepreneurial guy, if you know him. I think that's what got me the job, was that offer, or counter offer, if you will. And he said, I'll tell you what, you get our branding done, put a marketing plan together, and we'll give you sandboxes and some toys to play with, see if you can build a business unit, which I did. We did the marketing for the firm, we did the marketing for the firm's clients, and I became the firm's first non-CPA partner in 2013. We largely work, with B2B companies, because that's what the firm clientele mostly was, and obviously built a very deep experience working with professional service firms. Kind of the unthinkable happened at the very end of 2019. Firm merged in with Markham. Nothing against Markham, but it wasn't a great fit for the agency side, so I carved it out in November of 2021 and started Strategic 7 Marketing. Same group of individuals are with me. I'm in the same building. I'm in the same office. I just kind of changed out my logo and my name and kept doing business as usual. The agency focuses on working with mid to large size businesses and specifically in the B2B and professional service space. And if you want to understand best, it's connecting marketing to sales. That's what we do. We work with companies to help them better clarify what their ROI is on the marketing initiatives they're doing, and then connect marketing to sales for them.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jim Haviland. I'm a partner at Impact Architects. We're a growth advisory, what we're trying to do is help small, medium businesses and their employees become extraordinarily productive, humane, and resilient. And we do that by helping them build that foundation of the business, that is traditional business operating systems. That's what we'll be talking about today. Then we help them scale. That's what my colleague Scott was talking about. And then transition, we have a number of CPAs as part of the firm. My story is, I'm a 7th generation entrepreneur. First, John Haviland started the first Haviland company in New York in 1810. But he never figured out generational wealth. He never figured out transitioning well. So I'm still working, but I'm working on that. My personal mission is to make sure no great idea dies for the wrong reasons. When I went to college, I was going to rebel against this entrepreneurial thing, and that didn't go so good because I started my first software business when I was a sophomore. Since then, 16 times I've been either the founder or on the founding leadership team. A lot of great stories and all of that, including one of my favorites. Some of you might know my other partner, Chris Snyder. He and I started Vox Mobile, and at one point had to turn 3 PowerPoint slides into a global joint venture with 1,400 people doing services around the world. And somehow we didn't make any money on that. The lesson there is be careful who you partner with. But for me, healthy entrepreneurship is the point. How do we get to a place where we're doing health entrepreneurship well, and we're doing a great job of transitioning those businesses? I've had 3 conversations this morning already about people not understanding that revenue and profit is not value. And so how do we teach everybody to create value in their businesses so they can transition eventually? So I former EOSI myself. We've got some EOSIs in the firm. And so we'll talk more about operating systems, but my goal here is to make sure everybody has the resources they need to get to a great transition. I guess I should point out that you've all got a piece of paper in front of you. That's something I put together for the team. If you did want it for the test later on, I guess it's not open book, so you can't turn over and see how to spell Molly's name on the back, but it is there. But there is some, I'll reference this stuff as we talk today, and I think the rest of the team has helped me put together those resources. And there's a QR code on the back that gives you access to a free course on First OS to learn more about the stages of growth. So, how did I do, Tom?
Awesome. Did great.
Right.
And I realized I didn't really introduce myself. Tom Furnas, Growth Strategies Group. I've had multiple careers at this point. Justify my gray hair. Worked for a little company called TRW. Actually grew up in a family-owned business, working out of our house. My dad was a self-employed physicist and built non-medical X-ray equipment out of our home in Cleveland Heights. And had a variety of other careers. Last 10 years was with another consulting firm called Inglewood Associates. Did a lot of distressed business turnaround, and at the end of January decided to hang out my own shingle. A little more focused on building what I like to say legacy caliber enterprise value, so really more on the growth side instead of downside of business trajectories, and helping businesses prepare for and maximize their exit, and also work with business buyers to maximize their investment. So I thought this was a great opportunity here to bring this team together to talk about scaling your business. So I'm going to start with Jim Bears. As companies grow, they often reach a point where the founder or leadership team can no longer carry out every function personally. How should a business owner think about when to hire a full-time employee? When should they use a fractional or interim talent, or rely on outside service providers?
Well, what we've seen over the years, and excuse me, maybe you've heard of account temps as a brand name, on the radio or print ads or the salary guides. I've been in every one of our lines, the account temp side, our contingent permanent placement line, and now the senior level line, manager resources. So I have a perspective with all 38 years still being client serving, and I say this, we have 16,000 global employees. I'm the longest client serving guy in the world, not dead or retired yet. So got a lot in the bag of tricks there in the experience. But what I would say is, for example, places like Jumpstart and incubators and such, what they'll often start with is a bookkeeper or a fractional transactional accounting person, or some family member or something, part-time flex, and then they graduate and go to a level and say, hey, wait, that's sustainable, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. Geez, now we need somebody else that needs a little bit more on making sure it's GAAP reporting, proper reporting for the banks or the debt equity mix or covenants and compliance and this kind of thing. And then it goes to the next level where it's, hey, geez, we need to look at the governance, risk and compliance, the treasury, the cash flow. We need a fractional CFO. And I was talking with Maureen before we started here, and she said she started this 26 years ago. We both nodded our heads in agreement. The funny thing was, historically, people thought of, if you will, temps and all this kind of thing with, shop floor people, receptionists, data entry, filing clerks. Well, it didn't elevate into the professional space kind of on a wider, kind of accepted basis until the 90s, I would say. And then it's taken off from there, obviously. So people see the value and the wisdom of, hey, you don't need to burn the cash for 52 weeks a year for a CFO, because frankly, you might not be at that stage or in that position, but you want the knowledge. That's the key. At every turn, at every level, don't be short of the knowledge. The knowledge can be had. The knowledge can be had 1, 2, or 3 days a month flex. You determine what it is, but don't be short of the knowledge at any stage. So we offer, like for example, at Robert Half, excuse me, HR, finance, IT, marketing, legal, administrative people, interim on a flex schedule, interim on a full-time schedule, direct placement, all these kind of solutions. So whatever it need be, you can pinpoint and control your human capital costs. And one other thing I would say, for example, let's say you think, oh geez, we went from QuickBooks Pro and we're putting in Intact or Acumatica or NetSuite. And hey, we don't know how to use it, right? Maybe I should hire a 120K person that knows NetSuite. I might say, hold on. Maybe what you really need is a 4, 8, 12, 6-week, 16-week run of a controller type that's expert on your new software. Build the tool, the process, document it, show an up-and-comer, maybe at like 70 or 80K. Oh, and then they take the job from there and run with it. First of all, the person that built that tool, process, or model, they'll be bored and they're going to leave anyway. Second, you're probably overpaying for the day-to-day work. And now your SG&A costs for the next 3 to 5 years carry an extra 40 grand, whereas your 80K person that carries it, wow, you just saved 40 grand in your SG&A just on accounting for the next few years because you strategically hired.
So, going to go to you, Molly. So after human capital, businesses require monetary capital very often at all different stages. So, and not all capital is the same. So how should a business owner think about matching the right type of financing to the right stage or purpose of growth?
Thank you. Great question. One of the things that I always like to advise any of my, my circle, anybody that a prospect of mine or existing customer is, surround yourself also with the right people. Maybe they're not necessarily on staff, but getting those ideas. And immediately having that relationship with your banker. It's far too often that I hear that, people are hopping banks or they're like, well, I don't know that person anymore. And it's like, just like you have a relationship, or I hope you do with your customers, whether it's B2B or what, you need that relationship. Let that banker know what's going on. They're not your adversary. And so often I find that, that disconnect. And that is so important because I can easily turn something from a no to a yes because I know you. So that's very important. Also, like we said, growth typically strains a business of its cash before it helps grow it. And revenue doesn't necessarily mean that you're scaling correctly. So I always tell people, get that line of credit. It's because you want it if you need it, right? And you don't have to use it, but you keep that ongoing. Just like somebody might have like a home equity line on their home and you never use it, but you want it because when you really need it, you can't get it, or you can't get it fast enough. So access to that cushion is crucial. You mentioned something about making sure you have the right financing in place. For instance, if you're a manufacturer, your machines might go down in an instant. What are you doing if you can't repair it? Obviously, we're seeing a lack in the market of who can come out and repair, especially older, better machines. They were, quite honestly made better in the 80s. But, so having that access to a CapEx line, that is separate from a line of credit. Line of credit helps you with the payroll while you're waiting for those receivables to come in. Obviously, like we get like the net 30, that would be ideal. 60, 90, sometimes it's 120. So it's really important. And some of my best customers that are the most successful have very little cash. And it's understanding what does that truly mean, because when is it coming in? When is it working for you? So, and again, going back to that CapEx line, I love it because, at FNB we offer that, and it's something that it's just, you have access to it. I had a customer that just leases their facilities, but they're now in 3 locations. So obviously that comes with more machines. Well, we have a 9 million CapEx line in place for them. So when they need to buy something, they've got it, but you're not paying on it until you're using it. And then that rolls off of that line and it becomes a term loan. So there's a lot there. And I all say this because it's so important to have your banker there right at the beginning. When I'm asking you questions and asking you, why was revenue up in December, but you're still showing a loss? Like, I'm not doing that to hurt your ego. I'm doing that because I want to get to the right EBITDA. Because honestly, it's quite honestly almost every day I meet this kind of resistance. And when I have that good rapport with the customer, they know I'm calling because I care and I want to see them successful, because that makes Cleveland successful.
No, that's awesome, thank you. I'm going to move on to Jonathan. So many businesses grow initially through referrals, founder-led, selling, small number of key relationships. At what point does a company need to move from opportunistic sales to a more repeatable go-to-market system?
So typically what we see is, founder sales. The founder is involved pretty heavily in all aspects of the business, including the selling aspect of it. And there's a reason for that. It's because they know, the business the best. They have the best insight into the customers. They're the most passionate. They understand the why behind what it is that they do. They have the most insight into the value that they can, or the company can provide to the customers. When you get ready to scale, you're going to start to have more sales folks in place. Well, if the founder still has to be in the room in order for those folks to be able to sell, that's going to be a problem. That's going to tell you that you're not ready to scale quite yet. If the sales team doesn't quite understand or aren't aligned on who the ideal customer prospect is, it's going to be another signal that you're not quite ready to scale. If your sales team doesn't have, the CRM in place or the discipline to use that CRM, if you're not consistently bringing in leads, qualified leads, and don't have a lead nurturing follow-up system in place for that, these are all things that tell you you're not ready to scale, but you should be, because if you're ready, if you want to grow the business, you need to have those pieces in place. So the founder's role then needs to really evolve. You need to take the information that founder has, the insights that they have into the customers, into the market space, and make sure you've got a clarified, unified message across everybody who's out there selling the business. So everyone's rowing in the same direction. So when it comes time to kind of upgrade the business, if you do want to scale it to the next level, you have to get the founder kind of out of the room, which is very difficult to do, and I understand that. I am one of the founders, or I am a founder, so I get that. But if you've got your folks positioned correctly and they have the right sales and marketing tools in place, that's when scale can start to happen.
I'm Ben Calkins. I founded Calkins Law Firm 10 years ago, but the idea of launching a business law boutique occurred to me decades earlier when one of my very first clients told me that I was the only attorney he had ever met who had done what he said, when he said, and for how much he said. When I heard that, I told myself that one day I would launch a law firm that would do what it said, when it said, and for how much it said, always. Why hire Calkins Law Firm? Quite simply, we offer highly educated, top-rated attorneys with vast expertise and deep experience on a cost-effective and responsive basis. Our secret sauce is that we truly serve and endeavor to delight all of our clients. Our commitment to our clients includes empathy, expertise, experience, and enthusiasm, along with unparalleled ethics. Calkins Law Firm, client-focused, and results driven.
Okay, we're jumping to the other gym. We hear a lot about business operating systems such as EOS, Scale Up, and similar frameworks. At a practical level, what is a business operating system and why does it matter when a company is trying to scale?
Thanks for that, Tom. So a business operating system at its core is the tools and disciplines you use to align vision, strategy, and execution. That's what we say. In its most simplest form, I say it's asking all the right questions at all the right times. Because what we find is that almost every business, that's the nature of the diagram on the front there is we start businesses, we're in that early stages where we're trying to wrap a business around subject matter expertise. And part of that, what the business operating system does is gives you that wraparound business disciplines that you need to actually grow your business. But what we know is that every business has an operating system. You have one, you have an accidental one until you have an intentional one. And EOS, scaling up, these are intentional operating systems. There's a path you can follow to get to that place that we're actually really scaling. And what we're finding is that ultimately, though, you're going to have your own operating system. If you're going to get to that billion-dollar business, every billion-dollar business out there has their own bespoke, completely tailored to them operating system. Some of them write books about it. But there's a path towards that. And when you're starting from a subject matter expertise, you've got to start adding these things that we already know. I mean, anytime three guys go to move a couch, they create an operating system. Like, okay, up on three, right? So every business has an operating system. They have a culture. Culture is made up of rituals, artifacts, and language, as what sociologists would tell us. So if you want to have intentional results, you have to have an intentional operating system. So pulling those things together, looking for the expertise you need. I think we've all talked about different levels of expertise. The reality is, there's almost no way you automatically know how to run a great scaling business when you start, right? And whenever, from the very beginning, I knew exactly how I was going to get to $1 billion. It doesn't happen. So having a process and having the tools around you that can help you make those steps along the way and tell you when it's time to bring in that next level of expertise. I mean, I think you talked about financial expertise. Amongst the fractional CFOs, is it everybody that waits too long to have enough financial expertise in the business? I think it's like 95%. Because we don't think that that's terribly important. We focus on those things that we know best and we're really good at, but there's actually, in a couple of EOS practitioners here, there's 6 key components to the business. You're probably only good at 2 or 3 of those organically, so you need to get better at the other ones and have a process for that. So the operating system helps you figure out what the whole business is, and also to create goals to go to get to the place where it actually is the business you were trying to build in the first place. And the most important thing I want to point out from the diagram here, the thing that terrifies me, so I want to point it out, 70% of all businesses never get out of the sustainable stage, stage 2. They get out of survival stage. They're not worried about cash flow anymore. They're making payroll every week. But 70% of them never get out of that next stage. They never get to the place where the next stage, the scalable stage, the only one we're talking about today, where it's actually a transferable asset. Right? Some of you guys in the M&A space, you know that you're looking at how many assets, they're completely unbuyable. Because it's basically someone has a job, right? They're not really to that place yet where we've actually got it. It's got the structures in place. It's got the processes in place, the disciplines in place, that I can actually look at that, know what it's worth, and give you a reasonable price for it. So that, unlike my poor family, you've got some generational wealth to pass on from all that work you did. So anyway, so there you go.
So follow on, how do you use a business operating system to hold people accountable?
And that is almost always the first thing people want to work on. Hey, my people aren't accountable. And this is what we find. I know EOS has a term for this, that it's not about holding them accountable. It's creating the culture of accountability in the business. Have I been clear enough with what your job really is? Have I taken your seat on the bus and made it so you and I have agreement? Have we taken my expectations and turned them into agreements, first of all? And have we come up with a way of measuring those agreements, right? Do I have KPIs, measurables in place that's like, hey, I think success looks like this. Do you agree success looks like this? Until I've gotten to that point, we don't really have an agreement. I'm hoping you do the right things. And you're not likely to do them because you've got your own thought in your mind about what that's going to look like. So you're not going to naturally be good at this. I mean, of the founders here, anyone that was like, oh, that was clear to me from the beginning? Anybody that was like, oh yeah, I was born with that? No. It takes time. It takes time and someone to tell you that's the right question to ask. Do we have agreement about what success looks like? And are we both agreed on the path forward to that? So accountability happens as a result of having these things in place. Because nobody wants to go to a job where they are sucky at it, right? No one wants to go to a job where no one thinks they do a good job. So can we create the atmosphere, the culture, and the operating system around everybody, so they know what a good job looks like and they're accomplishing that? Everybody wants to have that. Oh my God, dude, you're doing an amazing job, right? You can say, well, I don't really care. No, you do. Everyone does. We know that we got all the data, all the science we need, but that is what motivates people. I have autonomy, and I'm going to get recognized for my results. So if I create the atmosphere where that can happen, that's what operations teams do a great job at. They're all aimed at trying to create that opportunity.
Pass it on to Brother Jim here.
Okay.
So what are some warning signs?
I'm glad that you're other Jim now.
It's all good.
We're taking to
Been promoted.
So what are some warning signs that a company has outgrown its current people structure, and how do you address that?
Well, it can certainly be by workload or kind of an overtime thing, or the nature of the function of the work. For example, CPA firms, I used to do the Brown's Model Learner tax return when I was 23 years old. So I was part of a team. It wasn't me signing it or anything. But what I will say, no, the functional thing is there's a time where you think, well, am I at the kind of lease versus buy decision on people, on human capital? I'm outsourcing this, we're growing. Wait a minute. Does our work sustain to do all the federal and state and local and indirect tax work with a sustainable person inside? Things like that. Treasury, are we big enough that, hey, we have all these, now we have a global footprint, we have international, financial reporting standards, foreign currency translation. We need a treasury person now. We don't just need a banker or somebody, the controller doing cash. It's outgrown that, see. So when you say by workload and or subject matter knowledge, we're short inside, right? So that's where the fractionality comes in. In any functional area, you don't want to be short on something, right? You say, look, in all this thing, alignment and communication and all this kind of thing, are we meeting the corporate goals? Are we meeting our individual and departmental goals? Is the workload sustaining? It's always assessing its stages. And can your ERP system or your accounting system keep up? Hey, we're on QuickBooks Pro, but wow, we have so much inventory now. Can't really track it that well. We need to probably change what we're using for a tool there to accommodate for that big thing on the balance sheet called inventory. Raw materials, work in process, finished goods. Oh, okay. Now you've had a financial reporting person do this. Maybe it's time I get a so-called managerial accountant going. Somebody knows how to create the costing standards and apply the overhead and labor standards and come to rates that are meaningful and all this, because your financial reporting person doesn't have the chops for that. They need to shift to cost and managerial accounting.
No, you can hold on to it. So this is for you.
All right.
So what do banks look at when they're evaluating a business that is looking to grow? And do you actually evaluate their people and their markets and their sales and their business operating? Is that part of the equation as to whether this is a little riskier business to lend to or not? And how does that all play together?
Yeah. It is all relevant, and a good banker will look at all of that. They always say like the 3 C's of credit, character is one of them. And do you have the right people in place? Do you have the right talent in place? Do you have the right experience in place? And you know, when you have a solid model, for instance, I have a customer that I was just working with, he just acquired the business last year. And he was very strategic, which I appreciated, and he worked with us immediately, which was great because he decided that it was best to buy the business first, the property later. So he could invest the cash, just like you said, Jim, sorry. I'm kidding. But that's just, they make it this tier and they're just sustaining, case in point, you get a lot of this transition of ownership, and the current owner, he has a model that works and he's happy that it works. He's got his dog pound tickets, he's happy, his kids are through college, blah, 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 right? They stay there and they stay stagnant. You get new fresh blood in there with an owner, and they really want to invest back in the company because hopefully what they see is the next 30, 40, 50 years in this company, and how does that look? So he did a great job because after a year, we're now looking at doing the building, which is pretty unspeakable because he did some big moves. So we look at EBITDA, but this is where I talk about that it's so important that your banker knows you and knows the business. Because of that partnership, when you first look at it and we first spread the deal, it's not cash flowing. It's not flowing the way that we need to it. So a debt service coverage ratio of about 1.2 is what we need to achieve to get it to approve. And that's the bare minimum. So what we want though, and every good banker wants this for their customer, is we want you to succeed. We don't want to just lend you some money and then you go bankrupt, right? We want to see that sustained. So we do look at all these factors. So for instance, this customer, what he did was very savvy move. He rebranded, but still stuck with a similar name. But he spent money on all new gear, which I know sounds silly, but it's creating a culture, right? So do you want to show up for work every day? He spent a lot more money on his EOS system, on his job, so he knows what people are working on at every moment and what's coming up next. If there's a lull, there's something else we could be working on, and that's amazing. He spent money moving machines. Now these are big machines, they're several tons, right? So this isn't, just a couple guys trying to lift it, that lags in sales and time spent, and it's money just out the door. But if I can add that back in, that counts. And so we were able to make it work because he used a lot of his cash that he was going to spend, buying both the business and the building. Now the goal was all and this is where those great M&A attorneys come in, and having a good deep bench, right? And again, you're spending the right money strategically, of course, but he structured it very well where he, obviously gets first right of the building. He got it below market value, but he has to buy it before a certain date. And then that landlord, who was the previous owner of the company as well, can put it to the market after a certain period of time. So it was a very savvy move, and it was beneficial to both, and it worked out. But most banks that would take a look at that, an outsider would be like, oh, this doesn't cash flow, and I've already spent a couple of weeks on spreading this deal, and that's money spent at the bank with no rate, with no return, right? So I got in the weeds with it, and I run the cash flow, and I look at the story. I go out and visit the customer. I say, and I'm the one calling him at 7 o'clock at night too. So again, you have to have somebody that's willing to partner with you at every step of the way. And it's like, how do we get this done? And at the end of the day, we were able to get it done. So again, that really goes back to having that good rapport with your banker, because they're going to care just as much as you to see that succeed. And so to your point, yes, everything matters because it leads to results, and it leads to those sales, it leads to that growth in, the right, proper way.
By the way, there's a human capital tie-in to all this too. If I could say, there really is. In a world of 2026 with digitization, AI, business analytics, and everything else, you want that out of your up-and-coming staff and all, that's great. But we're in this room, right? And, it's communicative, it's relational, trade shows. And look, we're the under 40s, right? So I've had clients, the CFOs say to me, Jimmy, well, somebody in a corner office at the bank headquarters just dropped our vertical. I need a new lender, right? And you don't have a Molly and her, institution behind you, relationally, an advocate. It's relational. There's a human capital thing to this thing too. And these soft skills are extremely meaningful, with everybody, right? So this inner relational ability, communicate. I still write my own memos. I don't want to have AI take all my thinking for me. I don't know what will happen to me in the next 3 years. I am 63 and I want to be able to write these things. So again, there is a tie-in to all this with all these threads.
I agree.
Why don't you pass it down to Jonathan? So, when a business has limited capital, when should they decide to invest that limited capital in marketing and customer acquisition? And what metrics really tell you whether that investment is actually creating scalable value and growth?
So when you're looking to figure out when to invest from a marketing standpoint, it really comes down to what are your goals and objectives for the business. I can't tell you how many times I'll sit down with a client and I'll ask them, what does success look like this time next year? And they don't have an answer for me right away. And it'll take some kind of additional questions to kind of get them there. Well, let's take it from a business standpoint. Let's take it from a sales standpoint. Well, I want to grow sales. I want to increase sales. I'm like, okay, so after a year, if you spend $100,000 with my agency and you get one more sale than you did last year, are we successful? Are you happy with that? No. It's like, okay, well, let's get specific goals from a sales standpoint. Let's get specific business goals put in place. And then we can help you align what your marketing strategies and tactics will need to be to help you achieve those specific goals and objectives. And that is, at the point where you now can determine what your budget needs to look like and how much you need to invest. The more you want to grow and the faster you want to grow, the more you're going to need to invest in marketing to help you get there. And so, we were just having this conversation earlier this morning with Paul, and we were talking about how much do you invest in marketing. And, you can look it up on Google and it will say 2 to 5% of revenue, of sales, you should be investing in marketing. Okay, well, what if you're a startup? You don't have any sales. So 2 to 5% of nothing is nothing, and the only thing you need
Oh,
is
it's free then, right?
Not from our agency, it's not. So, now take that same business 5 years later and it's doing 25 million in revenue. It's off the chart, right? It's got more business than it knows what to do with. How much you should be spending in marketing now? Well, maybe you should be spending less, simply because you've got enough business, but you don't have the systems and procedures in place. You need Jim, right? You need somebody to get the operations in order so that you can get to that next step in your growth. So now your sales goals are less. You don't want to grow as quickly. So, maybe you want to grow single digit over the next year versus when you come out of that, you've got everything in place, you might want to double the size of your business. So your budget and your investment that you're going to make in the business is going to be based on what your business and your sales goals are. Marketing should come in and help support and achieve those goals. And if you're a business owner or you work with business owners, ask them, what are the business and sales goals? And if they can't answer it like that off the top of their head, they're in trouble. I mean, you can't grow it. So you need to be able to get that stuff in place. And then once it's in place, that's when I like to come in with my team and then help figure out what are the proper strategies and tactics to help you achieve those goals and make sure we do it in a measurable way.
So what kind of metrics do you tend to look at?
Oh, metrics, that's a great question. So that's the other thing, that a lot of folks will wind up doing these random acts of marketing because they don't have a plan of what they want to do. I should be posting more on social media. We should be, we should do branding. We should redesign our website, whatever the tactic is. There are certain things that make sense to do and certain things that don't. They need to align with your goals. So what we'll try to do is make sure the things that we're doing, we can bring clarity to in terms of what those results will be. So if you're trying to drive an increase in qualified leads, what is the system that you have in place to help you measure that? Do you have a CRM? Are you building a pipeline? Are you using it properly so you understand what's in the pipeline, what's the likelihood of those things in the pipeline to come in, what the revenue will be off of that? When are those things going to hit? But you also need to know, where did those leads come from? So I invested X amount of dollars in marketing, to build a new website. Do I have lead conversion built into that? And if I do I have the analytics in place that I can measure where did these leads come from? Did it come from the Google AdWords campaigns that we set up? Did it come from social media? Is it coming from organic search? Is it coming from AI search? Don't forget about these new AI models that are out there, ChatGPT and Perplexity and Claude. They're driving traffic to your site as well. You need to have all of those type of things in place from a systems and procedure standpoint so that you can measure the value you're getting, the ROI you're getting from the investment you're making in your marketing. So that's a big part of it, is putting those type of things
Not all
in
revenue
place.
is equally valuable.
Yeah, it gets into a broader conversation after that is, I'm getting more leads, but am I getting the leads from the type of companies I want? Is my messaging correct? Am I driving people to my site and I see site traffic's going way up, but I'm getting this huge bounce rate? So the bounce rate means they're coming to the home page and then they're bouncing right off. They're hitting the back button. That means they came to the site, they either didn't understand what you do, or you're not what they thought they wanted, and so they bounce off. So your messaging has to be tight, so you're tracking the right type of folks to your website, and then you can, track their path to conversion. And just make sure you understand what you want that conversion to look like. Do you want them to put their information into your website so it can be downloaded into your CRM system and you can remarket to them afterwards with a lead nurturing campaign? Or do you just want to make a phone call? What do you want? All of that stuff is measurable. It's just a question of putting those type of metrics in place so you can then track them. And if you don't do that, you're kind of doing random acts of marketing at that point, because you just have no idea what's working and what's not. So you're trying to nail Jello to the wall. Trust me, that doesn't work.
My name is Wyndham Ratchford. I'm the owner of Creative Gold Media, a video production company here in Northeast Ohio. We help small and large clients tell powerful stories through video content. Having worked with organizations in diverse industries, we know there are numerous opportunities to utilize video for growth and branding. Our team has key insight that I'm confident will help reach target audiences you are trying to connect with. Are you open to chatting about some ways we can help with video? If so, please email a convenient time to chat, and I will follow up with you. I appreciate you and your time.
So very often, what I've seen, particularly with growing businesses that hit a speed bump and are having some challenges, is that many businesses, the best thing may not be growing sales. They need to examine what their actual margins are with some of those customers. And particularly with some of the finance professionals here in the room, sometimes for every new sale you make, you're actually losing more money. And sometimes we actually have to fire a customer or do whatever it takes to analyze that. So I'm really curious, between a banker and marketing and trying to figure out, well, how do you price things and work with your finance team and that kind of thing? How do you figure out what it really makes sense to make something for, and are you really making it at a competitive margin? And what do you actually try and sell it for? And how does that communication work between, marketing is different from sales, but it requires collaboration. And is a banker digging into those kind of questions? So, anyway.
Very good point, very good point. I'll start real quick. Yes, we do look at that. One of the big things is customer concentration. If you have a large makeup, and not just like, you have 2 customers, right? Which I did have a manufacturer that just had 2 customers, which was scary. So, because, you ask the question, what happens if one backs out? And that can happen for a variety of reasons. That customer goes bankrupt, or that, change of ownership, whatever, they don't like your new ownership, all of that, right? So customer concentration is very important. And if it's in the investment real estate world, same thing. We want to see your rent roll. Who are you lending to? If I'm financing your, your commercial real estate and Drug Mart's in there, that might be a top client that we want that has, we see that history. do they stay in that place or do they move out every so often? So the risk assessment is real. And we see that all too often. Obviously in 2008, COVID brought its own sort of challenges as well. So yes, we do look at that, and it is important to see what kind of sector you're getting in. Margins are important too, because those obviously drive sales. And we like to see that you have a plan if X, Y, and Z doesn't work out. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured Jim's got something.
Well, it's tremendously important, and this just speaks back to not having the financial wherewithal within the business to make these kinds of understandings. Because at the beginning, at that survival stage, any revenue seems like good revenue, but well, reality is we have to learn that there isn't all good revenue. There's some revenue that's profitable. There's some that leads to customers that are great. Some, in the survival stage, we take on customers we know are horrible customers that we won't. Hey, we want to earn the right to say no to this customer. That's a place we want to get to. But that's the type of understanding you need to have from a sales and marketing perspective, but also from a finance perspective. Like which are the ones that are most valuable? Where am I really making money? If I'm going to invest in sales and marketing, where am I going to get the return? Not only in revenue and profit, but this goes back to the other thing, transferability. It has to be building value in the business, solving the problems of customer concentration, of long-term play. Is this we have a moat around what we're doing here, so we can actually grow this and increase prices at an appropriate place. These are all understandings that we have to develop over time, but part of it is knowing you have to develop those understandings. If all you knew about was, hey, I'm really the best widget maker there ever was, money's gonna come in the door, dude, I love you, but no. You're gonna have to figure out where you fit in the market, how the market responds to you, and you have to get better and better at knowing that, at understanding your segment of the market and where you want to go attack. And if you don't have a long-term plan, to what you were saying before, Jonathan, about knowing where you want to get to, whether I'm going to run this business and turn it into Amazon, or I'm